Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Russ Riesinger. Frustration across the state as Governor Steve Bullock says no to a stronger drunk driving bill.
The Yellowstone County attorney speaking out tonight, furious as Bullock vetoes the bill to require mandatory prison time for fifth-time DUI offenders.
However, the governor believes the approach of the bill, which passed the House with an overwhelming majority, is not the right approach.
Q2's Andrea Lutz is here with new information tonight on how lawmakers and supporters plan to move forward. Andrea.
Well, you do hear about it often. Someone getting their fourth DUI or maybe their eighth or even as many as 22. That was a case from a couple of years ago in Butte. But the legal punishment for those is the same in every case, no matter the number. With that in mind, the sponsor of the bill is looking ahead to the next session to get it passed. At a time when Montana's DUIs were among the highest in the country, Governor Steve Bullock took office as then Attorney General. Most can agree Montana's drunk driving epidemic needs change.
But they need to be dealt with. And what we currently have isn't doing it.
So this session, freshman Republican Representative Bill Mercer launched a bill to make prison time a part of mandatory punishment for those who get their fifth DUI.
This legislation was designed to say public safety demands that we treat this person differently than we did in those initial 4 attempts to try to modify behavior.
His bill had the support from the House and Senate and Yellowstone County Attorney Scott Twido.
These are the functioning drunk drivers. Their BACs are not like around the threshold level. They're like 3, 4, 5 times the level.
Many were sure the legislation would also get the signature from Governor Bullock, but it didn't. Bullock says the cases of DUI offenders go to the Montana Department of Corrections, where each case is handled differently. In most cases, treatment is the focus. And Bullock says the evidence-based intervention is working, with DUIs at a 4-year downward trend.
Where are you going to draw the line?
Still, Twido and Mercer believe it's not enough.
I mean, this seemed like a very rational point to say this is a person who's already failed to modify behavior after 4 previous attempts. If the 5th and 6th DUIs are too low a threshold to require some term at state prison, then what is it?
While Bullock says more can be done to curb Montana's drunk driving problem, he says this bill was a step backward from criminal justice reform. And Bullock also says there's no evidence showing prison sentences does much to discourage crimes. He says increasing the severity of punishment is ineffective in these cases. Back to you.
All right. Thanks, Andrea.
Montana may hold the next housing facility for unaccompanied migrant children.
The Department of Health and Human Services is now considering Malmstrom Air Force Base in Great Falls as a temporary emergency evacuation shelter for children who enter the U.S. illegally without a parent or guardian. Malmstrom would be only used in emergency situations if there is an urgent need for space, such as a natural disaster.
HHS says this will not impact military readiness.
More than 2 days after the shooting death of a 15-year-old Billings girl, police say there is still more to be done before authorities can come to conclusions regarding the nature of her death. Lieutenant Brendan Woolley says in an email to Q2 tonight that the investigation is ongoing and there have been no charges or arrests made. Police responded Saturday night to 12 Stella Street in the Cherry Creek Trailer Park in Billings Heights. There they found the girl dead of a single gunshot wound. Lieutenant Woolley says there are counseling resources in place for students at Skyview High School, Medicine Crow Middle School, and Beartooth Elementary.
Another sign that a presidential run is on the horizon for Governor Steve Bullock. Governor Bullock released a pair of videos. It all but confirmed that he'll be running for president in 2020. Take a look.
Two-term governor of a state that President Trump won by 20 points.
This like weird creature from outer space, a Democrat that wins in rural red America.
Democratic governor in that state who's pro-choice, you're for marriage equality.
Bullock's accomplishments and highlights the fact that he is the only Democratic candidate in the race to win in a state that President Trump also won. The video teases an announcement will be made soon. Sources close to MTN have confirmed that Bullock could announce a presidential run as early as this week. Now, if and when he announces, Bullock will join a long list of Democrats hoping to challenge President Trump in 2020.
Well, he beat the odds, escaping civil war in Liberia and becoming Montana's first black mayor. Now Wilmot Collins has his sights set on a Senate run. MTN first reported last week that the Helena mayor was planning to challenge Steve Daines for Montana's open U.S. Senate seat. Today, Collins made it official, saying he will focus on issues like reforming campaign finance system, expanding health care coverage, and improving veteran services. He also thanked the people of Montana for how welcoming they have been.
You gave my family an amazing life, which is why I wake up every morning finding new ways to serve and exemplify my internal gratitude for this great state and nation.
Now, the Montana Republican Party released a statement on Collins entering the Senate race. Party Chair Deborah Lamb says Wilmot Collins is just another liberal Democrat who will be a rubber stamp for the far left's radical agenda.
Back here in Billings, the Public Works Department is proposing raising water rates come July 1st. This comes after the city conducted a water and wastewater rate study to review the cost of providing consistent service to about 114,000 Billings residents.
Q2's Mitch Laggy standing by now with more on that proposed water rate increase. Mitch.
Russ and Jeanelle, Billings city taxes don't fund water or wastewater services. Therefore, those costs must be recovered through monthly water bills. The Billings Public Works Department is proposing to increase the water rate for an average single-family home by about $4.62 per month. The average wastewater bill for the same household would increase to $1.43. Those increases to take effect in two phases, the first happening by July 1st of 2019. The city sent a letter to Billings residents a few days ago detailing reasons for the increase. One of the driving factors is the construction of an upcoming West End water reservoir and treatment plant. Currently, Billings is serviced by one plant that the city says is aging and sometimes goes offline multiple times per month. During the high-demand summer months, if the plant goes down, Billings only has about 8 to 10 hours of fresh water before parts of the city will run dry. Now, this rate hike is not set in stone. Members of the public are encouraged to attend a public comment meeting on May 28th at 5:30 p.m. in the City Council chambers. Written comments can also be submitted to the mayor, City Council, City Clerk, or the Public Works Department. Russ?
All right, thanks, Mitch. One of Billings' iconic downtown buildings is the new planned home for Big Sky Economic Development. BSED announcing today that its board has chosen the Montana National Bank on North Broadway Street for its new location. A grant still has to be secured from the Federal Economic Development Administration before it can become reality. If it does, the plans would be to turn the building into a one-stop business and community economic development hub.
Other partners are saying, hey, we want to grow entrepreneurship in our community, and so we're doing that in a big way, and we think the facility will help us have a more forward-facing approach and be more proactive with growing jobs organically in our community through stronger resources for entrepreneurship.
Total cost of that project would be about $4 million, with $2 million of that dependent on a grant from the federal EDA.
Well, turning to weather, Bob, today we skipped spring and we jumped straight into summer.
Oh, yeah, I like to call it the summer preview, and we get to do it a couple of more days. But, you know, we got up to 86 degrees in the Billings area today, 86. Now, we were wondering, when is the last time that you had 86 degrees? Well, let me show you. We made a graphic here, and as you can see, obviously today we got to 86, but the last time was in August 30th, 1987 of last year. We got to 87 degrees. Meanwhile, a couple of days after that, the 17th and the 16th, we actually got up into the 90s that day. So obviously we got to 86 degrees those days. But still, pretty long time ago. Last summer was the last time we were that hot. Now here's something new to talk about. The 6 to 10 day outlook that shows us from Saturday through next Wednesday. We're expecting to see temperatures going to be much colder than normal for us as we head into next week, and it's going to also be much wetter. So look for a cooler, wetter weather pattern moving in as we head into next week. We'll have more on that in a few more minutes.
All right, thanks, Bob.
The trade war between the United States and China continues to escalate.
Today, China said it would raise tariffs on goods imported from the U.S. Its response to President Trump's steep new fees on Chinese-made products.
Natalie Brand has the latest from the White House.
The long-running trade dispute between the U.S. and China entered a new phase Monday. Beijing announced retaliatory tariffs on $60 billion worth of American-made goods, effective June 1st. Chinese officials said they were responding to President Trump's tariff hike to 25% on $200 billion worth of Chinese imports.
I love the position we're in. There can be some retaliation, but it can't be very, very substantial by comparison.
President Trump downplayed the development, but the tit-for-tat tariff sent financial markets into a tailspin. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 617 points, the worst one-day performance since January.
We had a deal with China. It was 95% there. And then my representatives, they went to China, and they were told the things that were fully agreed to, we're not going to get anymore. They're going to unagree to them. That's not acceptable.
But the White House economic advisor acknowledges the administration's approach could also hurt the U.S. economy, at least in the short term. A new report from Goldman Sachs says the costs of U.S. tariffs have fallen entirely on U.S. businesses and households, and warned that its effects could grow worse over time.
It's getting really tough. I mean, something needs to get resolved, something needs to get done.
President Trump says his administration is prepared to offer $15 billion in subsidies to affected farmers, but many of them say they'd prefer to sell their crops under a new trade deal. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Trump administration officials are now considering a plan to eventually impose steep tariffs on all Chinese goods imported into the U.S., more than $500 billion worth.
Well, coming up on tonight's 10 o'clock news, we head behind bars for a look on the inside as some unexpected duos work to change lives on the outside.
And in sports, the Laurel Locomotives hiring a pair of basketball coaches tonight. Scott will tell us who they are.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.